go. All right, everyone, welcome back. Why don't you go for the intro this time?
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Gigabyte StarsWar Killer Tournament number 6, round of 8, day 2 here. We've got Idra versus XiaoT here on Metalopolis. We're going to see Idra, the green Zerg, down at the 6 o'clock position. He's going to be going up against XiaoT, the red Protoss, here at the 9 o'clock. XiaoT right now is currently up 1 game over Idra, as last time we saw them on Tulare Multiple. Idra tried to take him down with a Roach Speedling all-in, but XiaoT is the master of the Great Wall of China, throwing down several clutch gateways over and over to keep those Speedlings out. An excellent defense overall, and I think Idra is going to be rethinking his over-aggressive strategies here and is going to go back to his roots, and I really do expect that Idra is going to be going for a more macro-oriented style. And first thing to point out, as you were saying a little bit earlier here, is that we have seen the ladder version as well as the no close spawn position. And we do see that XiaoT is scouting out the close ground position, so just wants to be safe.
Yeah, sometimes it can be difficult to know which version of Metalopolis you are playing on. If you're not always paying as much attention as you should be in the lobby. If you watch a lot of the good tournaments that go on online, a lot of times the first thing you'll see on a map like Metalopolis is, hey, which version of this in the chat? Like, hi, good luck, which version of Metal is this? And so we didn't see anything like that going on, so it's a little bit difficult to tell if this is the latter version or not. But given the fact that XiaoT did scout that, I'm going to assume that it is, as we have seen that a couple times already in the tournament. So we are lucky enough to not have the close ground spawn, as that just sort of leads to quick, less entertaining matches. It's so easily abusable by the players when you do get those spawns, because the rush distances are shorter than Steps of War, but instead we're going to have the close air. And Idra did go for a hatch first this time on Metal, so he's going to not have the early Zerglings on the field. We'll see what he's going to be switching into. And XiaoT at the same time walling off at the top of his ramp, because even like compared to Xel'Naga Caverns, walling off here on Metalopolis is even more of a chore.
Yeah, and it does not look like Idra is going to be canceling his hatchery quite yet. Still not out of the question, but I would be very surprised if Idra went for another all-in here, as this is a best of 3, so if Idra was to attempt to do the same thing and he loses, and he will be eliminated from the tournament, but he will let that hatchery complete, so it does look like we're going to see this game at least go to the mid-game.
Yeah, that probe was still in his base as well, so one of the reasons why he was able to do that in the last game was with the Bull first, he was able to get those Zerglings chase away the probe before that hatchery could finish. So since he did go for the hatch first, that really just doesn't work, because you can cancel your hatch and drop a Roach Warren and then the probe will see it, which kind of kills the entire point of the build. But look at this, Idra sending Zerglings out all over the map looking for proxy pylons. As soon as that spawning pool finishes and the first couple Zerglings do finish, really well done there by Idra. Like I said, he does complain quite a bit about how difficult it is to scout with Zerg, but since he's aware of that, if you watch him very carefully, just pick up some Idra replays, he's really good with scouting because of the fact that he's aware of the fact that it's difficult and it's important at the same time. He makes adjustments, he scouts very aggressively, and it is very difficult to catch him off guard because of the fact that he does focus so much on the scouting information on the early game.
Yeah, it's very crucial to know really what your Protoss opponent is going to be doing. I mean, right now, if he hadn't scouted out exactly what's going on, actually hasn't seen that natural expansion Nexus go down. So for all Idra knows, he's getting 4-gated right now, even after the slight nerf that happened to it. But there is a Nexus going down, and we do see that XiaoT is going to be starting to set up a bit of some city here. 1-2 gateways here at the bottom of the ramp, as well as a 4, so he's going to start choking this off and make it pretty hard for these Zerglings really to do any damage. Stalker's going to run its way back home, where there are some sentries to help him out.
Yeah, and if you looked earlier in the game, these Overlords has gotten near XiaoT's base. They've been poking in repeatedly, so he has seen a decent amount of the base. He saw a pretty noticeable lack of buildings early on, so he was relatively certain that there was a Nexus here in the natural. Just hadn't seen it with his units yet. But if you look at XiaoT, once again, he's a little bit later on his wall off this time. He did get his warp gates done faster this time. kind of scared a little bit by the all-in in the last game, so he's going to make sure he gets that done as soon as possible. But we check his warp gate count, it's up to 4. Yeah, just 4 at the moment, and he's got that forge starting the level 1 upgrades. He's got more sentries this game, so he is going to be able to hold off any tricky shenanigans, but it doesn't look like Idra's going for that. He's just got the Zerglings hanging around, making XiaoT wonder, while he goes for a third hatchery in the bottom right-hand corner. So I like this play from Idra. After the aggressive all-in in the last game, he's got a decent number of Zerglings on the field, showing them to XiaoT repeatedly, poking in on these gateways, drawing some sentry fire, seeing if he can bait a force field or 2. So he's making his opponent nervous while he's getting his third expansion. He's got a Roach Horde on the way and the lair at the same time. So he's clearly not doing anything aggressive, but his opponent doesn't know that.
Yeah, there is a lot of psychology going on behind the scenes here. And at this level of play, that is a very, very significant part of StarCraft 2. And Idra's definitely playing this quite well, as we can see that XiaoT really isn't too confident with moving out right now. He does look like he's going to be waiting until hallucination completes to even attempt to get any kind of scouting information. In the meantime, he's just going to sit back in this very defensive position. Another Overlord for Idra is going to pop into the main base and try to spot some tech here, but we do see that XiaoT has been throwing down pretty much all of his tech in the natural expansion here. 3 Stalkers are going to warp in under that Overlord, and that Overlord's fate is definitely sealed. It's going to go down very quickly. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Scout making its way around Idra's base is going to spot this third expansion here, but no Hydralisk Den or anything like that. However, the Roach Warren is definitely a pretty significant clue into what Idra's plans are for the mid-game stages of this match.
Yeah, and look at that. After he scouts out the third base and the Roach Horn with no Hydra Den, like you said, he immediately drops a Twilight Council and a bunch more gateways. Look at the gateway count now. Oh my god, it's now up to 8 gateways? Really? So he's sitting on 8 gateways right now. It's probably going to be moving into that blink because of the fact that he knows that his opponent has no Hydralisks. He'll just be going for a ton of Blink Stalkers, and I mean a ton.
Yeah, if Idra doesn't make something happen soon, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Roaches, not the best answer to Blink Stalkers. You do really need to have a ton of Roaches for that to really start to work out in your favor. He does have level 1 missile attacks for these Roaches. That's definitely going to help him out a little bit. Galil Reconstitution just about done. He is also getting a Baneling Nest here. And that is really starting to become standard in this matchup, you could say. As Banelings are just... Zerg players are really starting to discover how effective they can be, even despite the fact that Stalkers, which really are kind of the core of this matchup at times, are armored units, and Banelings don't do a ton of damage to them. Still, that splash damage definitely helps them out to soften everything up, and of course it does give you harassment opportunities later in the game with things like Baneling Bombs. And Zealots...
Yeah, but he doesn't have the drop upgrade. If you take a look at it, I mean, he's going for the Baneling and the Baneling speed upgrade, but there's no Ventral Sacs on the way from Idra. And that's going to be very important because of the fact that, you know, without the drop upgrade, the Banelings have to roll in. He is going to start it now, but that might be too late because Blink is done. Level 2 weapons for XiaoT is almost done as well. So there's definitely, with the way he's been building this, he's definitely gearing up for some form of a timing here. He could very easily attack once this level 2 weapons finishes from the Forge, and that means that drop upgrade wouldn't be done for Idra yet. So he's going to have just Roaches and Banelings on the ground, which can get force fielded. And if you check out the Baneling count, it is still relatively low. So if XiaoT moves out within the next couple of moments, he could catch Idra completely off guard. He could be in a decent amount of trouble. This drop upgrade almost halfway done, but, you know, almost is not good enough. Here he goes. That's a lot of Stalkers. He doesn't have a forward pylon, though. The closest he has is over here on the right side of his base. So he's not going to be able to be hyper aggressive with this attack, but he can still do a decent amount of damage if he micros this Blink very effectively.
Yeah, and right now there are 34 Roaches on the field, a bunch more Banelings Cocoons on the way, and I really don't think that this attack for XiaoT is going to be able to do too much damage. Chat's been blowing up about the supply differential for quite some time now, and just to point out that Idra is 50 supply over XiaoT right now, which is a pretty scary number considering that we're only 13 minutes in the game. We haven't really seen a huge engagement out of these players. And Idra's looking to round out the rest of that army with the Spire and Infestation Pit. But here comes XiaoT, and excellent banelings there. Just running head in. XiaoT with a little bit of a misblink there is going to lose a sizable chunk of his army.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's different from what we've seen from XiaoT so far in this tournament. I mean, he didn't bring his sentries with him. He didn't respond in time. You can see he just let those banelings roll right into his stalkers and take out a good number. So Idra's now maxed. XiaoT's sitting at 133. Idra's fourth hatchery is on the way, so he's going to start looking to apply some pressure. Hive starting as well with when the Spire's about to finish, so he's going to be able to move into Broodlords in the late game.
The main of XiaoT! Baneling bomb! No! Blinking ruins everything.
But here comes Idra up into the third base of XiaoT. Some decent force fields, but he doesn't quite wall it off immediately. But XiaoT isn't able to. I'm failing. You take it ahead.
All right, force field's going down. He is going to catch a decent chunk of Idra's army, and Idra's going to be running home with his tail between his legs. 52 Zerglings on the way right now. And that is a lot of larvae, let me tell you. Supply counts right now, 183 for Idra, 148 for XiaoT. XiaoT has now secured his third expansion. Meanwhile, Idra is getting up a fourth here. He's just going to make his way back home, increase his baneling count. As you see, 14 baneling cocoons just wrapping themselves up right now. Hive is finishing up right now, and interestingly enough, Infestation Pit hasn't been used at all. I still haven't seen pathogen glands get started or anything like that.
I like this play from Idra. You know, he's making more banelings, but he's not investing as heavily in the infestors as we saw Maro do, which allows him to tech up to that Hive upgrade. Maro was able to get some good engagements with those banelings, but he really needed to progress further in that tech path to go later into the game, which is what we see Idra is doing right now. So I do like the way that we see Idra playing right now. He does have a decent number of the banelings loaded up into the Overlords, but not all of them. So he's going to be able to go and force those force fields from the sentries early, and then drop some more banelings on top of that. The banelings in the main, not quite able to do too much damage. You can see XiaoT did spread out his probes quite effectively. There's 8 Zerglings in the main as well, trying to unpower anything that they can. There's a gigantic army from Idra just moving all the way across the map. He does catch one lone Dragoon and picks it off, and it's a very sad pair of robotic legs. But here they come on top of XiaoT's army. Blinks away at the last moment before the banelings blow up half his army. He actually traps a good number of banelings in the force field donuts. Look at how many got trapped there. Good control by XiaoT, dropping the supply difference to 180 to 195. He is catching up. He hasn't started a fourth base yet, but he's doing pretty good job of holding off this aggression. Idra, though, Greater Spire just finishing, so Broodlords are going to be on the way.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, there are no Void Rays. There's only a handful of Blink Stalkers, and Idra is just running around the map doing damage, just taking chunks out of the army of XiaoT and just forcing him to spend money to replenish that army. XiaoT now is going to be adding on Colossus with extended thermal lance to try and deal with this roach threat, but there are 6 Broodlords on the way, and that does mean that Idra will have the